This Week in Connecticut with Dennis House starts now.
Welcome to This Week in Connecticut. Greetings, everyone. I'm Dennis House. It is Sunday, November 2nd, 2025. Straight ahead today, the SNAP benefits crisis. Hunger is on the rise in our state. Connecticut's Foodshare's Jason Jakubowski is with us with numbers that will shock you. Plus, the millions of dollars in business pumped into our state economy by ports. We'll talk with the director of the Connecticut Port Authority, Michael O'Connor. One of the nation's leading classic car experts who calls Connecticut home is out with a new book. Wayne Carini of Chasing Classic Cars is my guest. And you've seen him on Channel 8 reporting from Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica this week. A big Connecticut honor for Ike Ajachi. Also a follow-up to our conversation with Steve and Carrie Rue, whose son, Luke, was killed by a drunk driver. And first up on This Week, The Lead. We begin this morning with a hot topic this week, food benefits. 3.6 million people live in our great state, and the number of people here suffering from food insecurity or hunger is staggering. The subject was front and center as the future of SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits, came into question. And joining me now is the president and CEO of Connecticut Foodshare, Jason Jakubowski. And Jason, good to see you here on the program.
Dennis, how are you? Good to see you.
So it's been 5 years since you merged, right?
5 years since we have created one statewide food bank. We're now Connecticut Foodshare, serving all 169 towns.
We're always stunned by the demand. What does it stand at right now?
It's crazy. I mean, it's, we're seeing some lines in some parts of the state worse than they were at different times during the pandemic. Right now, there's about 515,000 people in the state of Connecticut who are food insecure, who don't know where their next meal is coming from.
500,000 people.
It's 500,000 people, and it's about 11% increase over next year. And then obviously, since the government shutdown began at the beginning of October, we've had, TSA workers at Tweed, New Haven and up at Bradley that aren't getting paid. We've had federal contractors down in southeastern Connecticut. So that's added to the number of people that need our services. And then there's a lot of uncertainty around SNAP benefits come November.
And you've told me before that it doesn't make a difference which town it is, right?
It does not. I mean, it definitely does not. I mean, we have people in some of the urban areas. We have people in some of the wealthy suburbs. People think, oh, Greenwich, there's no way of anybody. There's 1,000 families in Greenwich that don't know where their next meal is coming from. So, and even the small rural communities, Cornwall, we have a pantry in Cornwall, Sprague, it's all across the state. There's no geographic determinant.
How does Foodshare meet the need?
It's not easy. We meet the need because of the generosity of people here in Connecticut. 95% of our money comes from private philanthropy, from corporations, from philanthropic organizations, and then from individuals here in the state of Connecticut. So that's the biggest deal that we have. The people of Connecticut always have our back. They always step up, and they always help us to be able to not only procure food, but also to be able to store the food. You've been to our place. You've seen it. There's a lot of trucks, a lot of drivers. I mean, it's one thing to get the food in. It's another thing to get the food out to 515,000 people.
We're going to sort of avoid the exact details about SNAP because it's a little difficult because it's such a fluid situation with the government. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. Yeah. The date could change as of this taping. But what exactly are SNAP benefits?
They're what we call, when you and I were kids, we called them food stamps.
Okay.
I mean, that's what the government used to call them is food stamps. But, it's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It's a subsidy from the government to people in need to help them go buy groceries. And it's a card that they can take, they can go to the grocery store, and it gives them dignity. They're able to buy their own product. It's also a boon to the local economy. There's 2,500 retailers in the state of Connecticut that accept SNAP, anywhere from 10 to 15% of their business. So if SNAP were to go away, not only do you have 360,000 people who don't know how they're going to get their food, it's a real hit to the grocery economy here in Connecticut.
And this is a federal program.
It's a federal program.
But the state can help out.
It's administered by the state, but it is a federal program. The federal government determines, where the dollars are spent and when they're spent. And it's never happened before. There's been plenty of government shutdowns before. It's never affected SNAP dollars before. This is an instance in which we're concerned. We're really concerned that first week in November, people may not know if they have SNAP dollars on their cards.
What time of year is the need the greatest?
It's interesting. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of focus around the holidays.
Turkey drives.
Turkey drives. The great Thanksgiving food drive coming up at the end of
News
November.
8 will be there.
News 8 is always there. But summer is the hardest time of the year for food insecurity.
Interesting.
People always they don't think about that, but it's because kids are out of school. So June, July, August, we have the least number of volunteers. We have the least number of donations, but the need is highest because kids aren't in school getting getting 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 meals a day. So people think about us the most during the holidays, but the need is the greatest during the summer.
Are more and more schools offering more meals these days?
More are. Obviously there were a lot more during the pandemic. Things are kind of back to like pre-pandemic right now, in which some schools are offering, maybe 1 meal, maybe 2 meals. Some are 3 meals. Obviously, that's a federal program as well. So as a part of this whole larger discussion, what does that look like in a couple of weeks? I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to predict.
What can people do right now who are watching to help?
People can, 2 things. First of all, if you need help, you can go to ctfoodshare.org and you can find out where all of our pantries are. You can find out where all of our mobile sites are. You could call 211, go to the United Way's website. We have them all listed there. You could also go to ctfoodshare.org if you want to make a donation or if you want to volunteer. At the holidays, those are the 2 things we need the most: monetary donations and volunteers.
And you've been working very closely with the governor,
absolutely,
and the state legislature and the congressional delegation. What are they telling you?
I think they're worried. I think they're concerned. I think there's a lot of concern about how long is this government shutdown going to last, because it's certainly not a good thing. It's certainly not a positive thing. The conversations we've had with the governor are, about what can we do to help. I think, the governor's already announced last week that he is going to help us by giving us some additional funding on a per-week basis to help try to fill some of the gap that people lose from SNAP. But I think, and this is the most important thing, what they're able to give us isn't going to solve the problem. It's not a one-for-one solution. So I think people are just waiting to know, when does this end, how does this end, and how are we going to be able to move forward?
And I just want to reiterate a key point at the beginning of the conversation. For those of you who joined us late to this conversation, 500,000 people in Connecticut. Stunning.
It's awful. In the richest state in the country. It's crazy.
Jason Jakubowski from Connecticut Foodshare. Keep up the good work, and thanks so
Dennis.
much. And of course, we'll see you at the food drive.
Thank you. We'll be there. We'll be there.
All right. And coming up when we come back, the ports of Connecticut and their coastline next. Joining me now from the Connecticut Port Authority is the big boss himself, Michael O'Connor. Good to see you here.
Good to be seen. Appreciate the time today to get out the word of what the Connecticut Port Authority is doing today.
What exactly is the Connecticut Port Authority?
Well, the mission of the Port Authority is to grow the maritime economy in the state of Connecticut. And so we will get involved and we will collaborate with anybody, provide guidance, resources, and advocacy for anything that goes on along the waterfront. That would include recreational boating, commercial fishing, shipping, port operations, the environment, dredging. A few of those are very key components to moving the economy forward in the state of Connecticut.
We have 3 major ports, correct?
We have 3 deep water ports, we call them,
ports, yeah.
Bridgeport, New Haven, and New London. Of course, the Connecticut Port Authority is the landlord, if you will, of the state pier, and that's leased out to the people developing the offshore wind project south of Block Island. Of course, State Pier has been in the news lately for the wind project getting stopped by the current administration. That was about a 4-week pause, but they're back in business after a court case the stay was lifted and they were allowed to proceed with their work.
What kind of products come into the ports in Connecticut?
Well, a lot of products come into New Haven that are petroleum, steel, stuff like that.
So I see the tanks.
Yep, that's why you see the tanks, and there's good connection to rail, and rail's being expanded in the Port of New Haven so that more use can be made out of that port.
And New London tends to be?
New London is leased to the wind projects right now. So for the next few years, you'll see a lot of wind turbine construction go in there. And
so then those are the big tubes you see?
Those are the tower sections, and then the generator cells that they ship out to sea to put installed on the ocean.
Obviously the submarines come in there.
Submarines
Cruise
come in.
ships from occasion.
Submarines go up their own way, and the subbase is managed by somebody other than the Port Authority. The cruise ships, we've had about 12 port visits this year on medium-sized cruise ships that stop into New London.
And how about Bridgeport? What are they known for?
Bridgeport, mostly the ferry system going back and forth between Port Jefferson. We're looking to expand shipping in the state of Connecticut, try to move freight off the highways, working with partners in Bridgeport, New Haven, and New London along the Thames River potentially move things that can be moved by barge instead of by highway. There's a lot of truck traffic on I-95, as everybody's aware, and there's more efficient ways to move our freight.
Is there any freight moved from the ports up the rivers to places like Hartford? I know back in the old days they did.
There's not, and yeah, there is a good history, and maritime history is rich in the state of Connecticut for moving freight up to Norwich. Norwich is a very big harbor at one point. We do need to work with the Army Corps of Engineers and improve the dredging in the state. So there's 30 navigation projects. It's a lot to keep track of. There's maintenance dredging going on in New Haven Harbor to restore that depth to 35 feet. Next year, the New Haven Harbor is going to get expanded to 40-foot depth, which will allow bigger ships to come in.
And what kind of products will they bring in?
That could be bulk materials, sand, salt, aggregate, like that, and then petroleum products. Right now they're limited in how big the ships can be or how much they're loaded due to the water depth.
How much money are we talking about these ports? How much do they bring to the Connecticut economy?
There's different studies that have put out different numbers over different time, but my focus is on the capacity that we do have that's not being utilized, and all we can do is expand from here.
And let's talk a little bit about tourism with the ports, because you mentioned the cruise ships to New London, which is a big deal.
Tourism, there's a lot of maritime history in the state of Connecticut. There's also the ferry service I talked to get to Long Island. And then if we can expand cruise ships and work with our local partners, that would be a good thing to do for the state.
And in terms of like the development of the three cities with these ports, we see a lot of investment in Bridgeport right now. Of course, the new amphitheater, and there's going to be a new hotel project. What about the other two, New London and New Haven?
Like I said, New Haven's undergoing some improvements to their port for the rail connections.
Sure.
Trying to work with the city to make best use of the property around the harbor. New London, we're always looking to do more things, not only in New London, but up the Thames River through to Norwich itself. The renovation of the state piers brought several jobs to the state pier. We were in the news recently for the closeout of the contract that rebuilt the state pier. That work actually got finished in mid-2024. Of course, when you're done with a project, there's a punch list, and then we were able to come to a compromise on payment for the work that was done against the contract requirements, and I'm glad to have that closed out.
What's on your wish list for the ports?
The wish list is make sure that we have dredging done in the places that we need it most, including up the Connecticut River. Work with people to expand what can be done along the waterways, and work with the regulatory bodies to see to it that people can get permits to do the things that they want. And some businesses that aren't evident in Connecticut, that are present in Rhode Island or Massachusetts, can come here too.
Have you seen any evidence that climate change is impacting the ports at all?
Every time we touch infrastructure along the coast, we build in something for resiliency. You can see that most evident at the sub-base. When they renovate the piers that the submarine's attached to, they raise them up so that they're higher, so that water level changes won't impact their operation. They make them stronger so we can put things like firefighting equipment out on the piers, where when they were built 100 years ago, that wasn't the case. And then they're lengthened to accommodate the newest class of submarines.
You know, for a small state, we have a lot of boat traffic.
We do.
Which is amazing. All right, Michael O'Connor from the Connecticut Port Authority. We appreciate you being on the program today.
Thank you so much.
A Connecticut automotive icon, Wayne Carini, is next. Joining me now, one of my favorite people, to talk about one of my favorite subjects, cars. Wayne Carini. He's out with a new book. It's called Steering Through Life. Fascinating. Wayne, good to see you here in the program. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
You and I have had a lot of fun over the years, including this conversation in front of your Buick Roadmaster convertible.
Yeah, that's the Rain Man Buick.
Which was absolutely an amazing car, and I was so honored to be able to sit in it. So you kind of grew up in the golden age of automobiles. As a kid, when do you remember falling in love with cars?
Oh, geez, my father restored cars for a living when I was growing up, and then my cousin built hot rods outside the family farm in a shed next to the barn. So, you know, cars were in my blood from day one. And my father was the founder of the Model A Restorers Club of America.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, we were brought up in it. I started going to Hershey, to the flea market and to the large event in Hershey, Pennsylvania when I was 6 years old. And so it's never stopped.
car design was amazing too over the years. Just all the things that you've seen, the trends from fins to various colors to plaid interiors to everything.
Yeah, we love fins, that's for sure. But you know, cars have evolved, and if you really think about it, it's been around for just over 100 years, and it's really hard to think that.
100 years, isn't that amazing?
Just over 100 years, and so cars have evolved very quickly. You know, now we have electric cars, of course, and we have cars with 1,200 horsepower, and all sorts of great things are happening in the car industry.
You know, it's interesting because you've told me some amazing stories. You'll get a call from someone who said, my husband died and I have 6 cars in my garage. What do I do with them? And you go over there and you find these rare things.
Happens all the time, and that's a wonderful thing for me.
Yes, it is.
It's good for business, but it's also good that I'm able to help people selling their cars and help them on that journey. Because it's very difficult to sell someone's collection. You know, a husband dies or a wife dies or just things change in your life, and you want to make sure that the cars are going to the right people. I'm there to help.
I'm always surprised because, I put 25,000 miles or so in my car every year, and then you find people that have cars in their garages that are 50 years old with 30,000 miles on them.
Absolutely.
If not less.
Absolutely. Well, I just have a Studebaker. It's a Starliner Coupe 1954. It has 7,000 miles on it from 1954.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, people, and cars are parked in garages sometimes because they're broken. Something happened to it, they put it in the garage and they said, I'll get to it later. I found a Stutz Bearcat down in Statesboro, Georgia, and it was parked there in 1931. It's a 1921 because it had a bad head gasket. And then I found it about 7 or 8 years ago, and hardly any miles on it. So.
Yeah, some people just put it in the garage, well, I'll fix that later, and 30 years
things
later.
Get in, life gets in the way, certain things happen.
What's your advice for someone who wants to break into collecting antique cars?
Well, buy something that you love and something that's unusual. You go to an automobile show and you want to be somebody that's got the unusual car, people are going to come up. So let's say a Pinto station wagon is kind of a cool car, or a Gremlin, something like that, just to get your foot in the door. And then go to many different car events, join car clubs, and it sort of evolves, it happens.
It's interesting because you look at the cars made today and the shades of colors that are offered are very limited right now. There's like 3 shades of gray, maybe blue and red, and some of these sedans, they all look alike. It doesn't seem like there are that many cars being built today that will be collectors in the future.
Well, the styling is something that, we grew up in that great age of styling. General Motors with the big fins, and Studebaker made such great cars. Yeah. And now everything sort of looks like a piece of utility, like a refrigerator going down the road.
It's like an appliance.
It is an appliance.
So tell me about your book. What will people learn?
So
if they
Steering
read it?
Through Life is a book that we put together. It's about my life and how good and bad things. We have an autistic daughter, and how autism has affected our lives deeply. So, little things like that, the highs and lows, all the cars. And this is my life before chasing classic cars, which was the series I did on Discovery Channel, 18 seasons, and it's shown in over
show.
Thank you.
I love that show.
Shown in over 100 countries, and my voice is dubbed in 34 languages.
And I want to talk about autism because you use this car to promote and educate about autism. How was that?
So because of this movie, Rain Man, our lives changed as parents with autism child, because people sort of realized what autism was about a little bit more than they knew before they saw the movie. And after the movie was out for about 2 years, Barry Levinson, who was the director of the movie, bought this car after the movie, and he sent it to me to be restored because he saw my autistic daughter on my TV show, Chasing Classic Cars. And what really is an unusual thing is that I got done with it, and he says, I have no place to keep it right now. Could you keep it for me? Well, it's been 16 years I've been keeping the car, and I get to use it to promote autism charity events, and he's happy to have me have it. And it's a good marriage. Today is November 2nd. Coming up on November 6th, you have a big event. Tell us about it. So it's Autism Families Connecticut, and it's our fundraiser. It's our big fundraiser of the year. It's at the Pond House, and people, if they want to know more, want to donate, or want to buy tickets to the dinner, Autism Families Connecticut or autismfamiesct.org. autismfamiesct.org. Tough question, but do you have a favorite car of all time? My favorite car is the next car. The next car. The next one, yeah. You're always on the chase, always on the hunt. So. But you talk about people who like,
I mean, there are people who love Corvettes, right? Yeah. I'm not a big Corvette fan. I'd prefer to have a station wagon. Now, that's weird. People
love
think
station
that's
wagons. You
nuts.
and I, we've got the same thoughts. I have an
Audi.
Like
those station wagons.
I've got an Audi wagon. I've got a Cadillac CTS-V wagon. And I've got Paul Newman's Volvo station wagon.
Oh, do you really?
Paul built 3 of them with Ford engines in them.
Wow.
And I have Paul's original car. Yeah. But I think, to answer your question, a 250 short wheelbase Ferrari 1960 is probably my favorite car of all time.
That'd be nice. I think I would want like a 1960 Chrysler Imperial convertible.
That's
probably the
car.
biggest fins of all kind. They come in amazing colors, but someday, if anyone's watching who has one,
People want to buy the book, they can go to waynecarini.tv and go to our store there and can purchase the book.
The book is Wayne Carini, Steering Through Life. Wayne, always great to see you in the program. Thank you so much, and best of luck at your event this Thursday.
Thank you very much.
In a moment, a big honor for a member of the ABC News team right here in Connecticut. And looking to connect with us this week, we welcome emails at thisweek@wtnh.com. You can also find me on X, Instagram, and Facebook. This Week in Connecticut. We'll be right back. Finally today, a key part of our coverage of Hurricane Melissa received a big award recently in our state. Ike Ajachi, a correspondent for ABC News, was stationed in the middle of the storm in Jamaica, and his reports were featured on News 8 all week long. Ike reported on the preparations, the impact of the storm, the damage, and the aftermath. A tough job that takes some courage. By the way, Ike used to report here in Connecticut and was recently inducted into the Hall of Fame of where he went to college, Quinnipiac University. Speaking in Hamden, Ike said this is a day he will never forget. The ceremony was part of Bobcat Weekend and the 25th anniversary of the communications program. Congrats, Ike. You're making Connecticut very proud. Finally, a follow-up to a segment we had earlier this year with Carrie and Steve Rue of Farmington, whose son Luke was killed by a drunk driver. The month of October is Luke's birthday month, and all month long, Mr. and Mrs. Rue held an event called Drive Kindness, and they gave away $50 vouchers for Uber. What a great idea and a great way to raise awareness about the dangers of drunk driving. There is never an excuse for it. Do not drink and drive, and if you drink, there are safe ways to get home, and certainly Uber and the other companies are one way. Finally, high school students filed into the Connecticut Convention Center in Hartford for the Aerospace Alley trade show. They get to learn about manufacturing careers in the aerospace industry, which is really big in our state. News 8's Kiara Smith was there and has more on what this means for the next generation of the workforce.
More than 1,000 high school students from Connecticut and Western Massachusetts exploring aerospace careers at the Connecticut Convention Center on Thursday, opening up their minds to a high-tech industry at the Aerospace Alley trade show.
So I feel like this is very cool because it could show everything, how things are made, the blueprints of certain things. And I feel like it's just very intriguing to everyone. And it gives everyone different, views on certain stuff.
And just knowing that these job opportunities exist can go a long way.
I want to check out advanced welding. It seems really interesting to me. Looks cool.
It's important for us to introduce them early and get them exposed to what careers are out there. There's so much manufacturing industry going on or manufacturing happening here in Connecticut, but the kids might not know about it.
With more than 100 aerospace companies here today, students got a chance to meet with all kinds of manufacturers and even see different components like this engine. And the need to keep up with an industry that's constantly growing and advancing.
We need to scale our business with the economy, with the market. Aerospace is booming right now. We're trying to stay with the market, with the customer demand. Finding people is difficult in these days. Skilled machinists, skilled operators. We're looking for the state helps with that.
So for those who want to pursue a career in aerospace.
But a lot of these companies will do on-the-job training, so don't be afraid to go and knock on a door, submit an application, even if you might not have some certain background.
In Hartford, Kiara Smith, News 8.
We thank you so much for sharing your time with us for This Week in Connecticut. You can catch us every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. Up next, Capitol Report with Tom Dudchick, and I'll see you tomorrow night on the news at 6 and 11. Have a great Sunday, everybody.